Film is a wonderful way of being reminded of changes from the past. A photograph does it too, but with a film you have the movement, you have the pace of life, a whole extra dimension which makes witnessing another time so much more vivid. They say that photographs, for every photograph is worth 1,000 words. Well, film must be worth more than 1,000 words in that it has that added dimension. It's a ephemeral quality of change. You're looking at somebody doing something, somebody aware or unaware of being filmed. So you have different levels of information that come through film to you in a very immediate but accessible form. It makes you muse about the relationship between the cameraman and the person that's being filmed. It is a magical survival of the past, a way of stopping the march of time. The VE Day film is a delightful film. It shows all sorts of aspects of days at the end of victory in Europe. It's an extraordinary, joyful scene. All the celebrations have a background of things that are familiar, like Anderson shelters. National flag gets hoisted in somebody's garden, and intriguingly somebody hoists another flag below the national flag which looks, I can't quite tell, as if it could be a Soviet flag. And we have to think back to that period where, of course, the Soviet Union was in those days one of the great allies in the war, not a feared enemy of the Cold War. The VE Day film is particularly interesting. It is very dramatic because it is still in black and white. It has a kind of dramatic quality to it that the later films with their delicate colouring remind me of my youth, but this is before I was born. It's something I've heard so much about, and here it is. It's just a wonderful few minutes of a period that is so famous in the country's history, really. Part of the film also shows somebody who is celebrating by dancing on a pub table which falls over. The pub tables are made of cast iron, and by falling over probably shattered, and the man gets carried away. He was probably quite injured by dancing on the table. The Pontefract Racecourse is on the site of a deer park of Pontefract Castle. In the 19th century it was cut into three, and the middle bit is what we call Pontefract Park today with its racecourse, which I believe is the longest flat circular racecourse in Europe. By the mid-20th century, the racecourse was really important to the economy of Pontefract and drew in lots and lots of people. it was also very near to various licorice factories at that end of town, so children and others could go and buy sweets, as it were, and try and sell them to people that had come to the racecourse as well. So you would have trays of sweets, as it were, then on sale or return, I presume. Dunhills and other firms would supply sweets for retail.
Looking back at the film, The First Mayor of Castleford in 1955, it was a very interesting film. First thing is the scenes of Castleford in 1955, so it's good to look at those scenes to see how the town was. Then carrying on after those scenes, and then looking at the actual mayor making ceremony and seeing the town clerk there and seeing the mace bearer with his uniform on, carrying the mace, and then the first mayor, Ezra Taylor, who a lot of people nicknamed Mr. Castleford. I can remember my mother telling me about Ezra Taylor and how he came around and how he held me up as a little child like politicians did in those days. And but I bet he never thought when he held me up about, you'll be a future mayor of Wakefield District as Castleford. Because in those days, of course, it was good that Castleford was created, and then seeing as a borough, and then seeing the actual granting of the borough status, which then comes on the film after the mayor making. The granting of the charter to Castleford is actually when Castleford became a borough, when it became politically a united entity. So it's the people of Castleford came in charge of their own town. So a town council came into being. Ezra Taylor was the first mayor, and it lasted from until 73, 74 when the local government reorganisation came in. Looking at the film and looking at what happened in my mayor making last year as Wakefield Mayor, there's a lot of similarities, and we're talking about an event in 1955 compared to an event in 2010, but the similarities with the handing over of the chain and going out and then coming back in when you rolled up, it hasn't changed much in all those years. Traditions carrying on.
First went to school in Castleford, and you grew up, you didn't know nothing about any other town because they're too far away, even though they're on a bus. And all you did, you stayed in your own community. You grew up among the same people, and the younger generation, they all used to go to the same dance hall. But I got interested in cine photography, and this is the first camera I bought, which was a magazine camera. And I used the lens off of that camera, and I purchased the Bolex block, which accepted the same lenses, which didn't cost me as much, and had more scope for doing titles and backwinds animation. People used to say you can't film without a tripod, but as an amateur, I seem to think I could, but in those days hands were more steady. But fortunately, I used to prop myself against a wall or something solid, whereas all I need to do is stand, hold the camera and press the button. But when it comes to animation, you do need a tripod, otherwise it's like an earthquake exploding in front of the screen.
Until the other kiddies knock 'em down. When it snows, ain't it thrilling? Though your nose gets a chillin', we'll frolic and play the Eskimo way, walking in the winter wonderland, walking in the winter wonderland, winter wonder, winter wonderland, winter, winter, wonder, wonderland.
Get as much fun out of making a title for a film as you would doing the film. Fortunately, I had access to several different letters and things like that, you know, for doing titles. The kindergarten one was done on a kind of a tracking device. You know, that stood up like that. And the camera was right up to it. And I pulled the camera back.
I was born in Potteries area of Castleford, and I did go to the nursery at 3 Lane Ends. There weren't many nurseries in those days. It was very much get active, lad, and learn things as being told things. It was more a case of get out there and have a play with different things and find out how they work and what they can do and how you can create things. The sandpit was my favourite, and it used to be messy because you could move the sand and make it in different shapes and create different things. And of course, bear in mind in those days we didn't have a lot of money, so in fact I would probably say that I've never been to the seaside at that time. I've never seen the sea, never seen the seaside. So to go into a place like this where to me they're all new materials and really worth exploring. 2 or 3 years ago, I went to the building. It's now used for workplaces. The building size changed, but the design, of course, hasn't changed. And you can remember the shape of the building because it's unique. It's designed like a ship. I think it's installed in me at that young age. It installs in you a sense of design and the sense that buildings can become part of the artistic environment rather than just things to contain people and articles in.
The kindergarten film was a modern school in the early 50s. Adjoining the kindergarten school was the school where I went as a young boy. But my sister was a teacher at this kindergarten school, and it was built after the war, and it was reputed to be possible to turn it into an hospital in 36 to 48 hours. The surroundings was marvellous. It was an open playground with grass verges. My sister was a kind of a teacher that helped the kiddies to get used to being away from the parents, and they used to use it as a play school. My own daughter and my niece were at that school. In fact, they're on the film. When I first went to this school with my camera, I was kind of elated with the kiddies running about and just doing what they want. No regimentation whatsoever. Some would be playing in a sandpit, some would be playing with plasticine, some would be pretending to do washing with a washing tub. They were just complete relaxation, and I thought, well, I've come with my camera, I'm going to film it.
Really old-fashioned, isn't it? This press film.
The Fitzwilliam Archive is a website, and it's been developed by the community. Working with this archive project, it's brought a lot of the community together. It's great to see people coming along with the photographs, and then they see each other, maybe not seeing each other for a long time, and then they're chatting and, oh, can you remember that? And the one that sticks out in the memory most of all was a Mr. Hurst. He used to be the manager of the cinema, which has since gone, and he had some old film footage of Days Out and things like that, which absolutely marvellous stuff, you know, reminding people of the things that used to happen years ago in Fitzwilliam.
The first building, what's the dentist now, it was a grocery shop. It was built there by my mate Anthony Runtle. The next building, which is the pub, it was Segs. They used to make Segs. The next building was a chemist, and the next to that was the cinema. Well, when they built that, they said all the youngsters can come in free. Well, you know the thing what they pay money in. It was there, but it wasn't fastened down, and we were all that eager to get in through the passage. We pushed it up, we couldn't get in, we blocked the entrance. We had to wait while somebody come moving it back. Dear.
Plaza Cinema, one madhouse. For matinees it was, one madhouse. And films at night, I mean, they used to get rowdy ones in the bottom end, but didn't bother me because I didn't hear them. Cowboys for Kiddies, Roy Rogers, Gene Autry.
You'd be given tuppence to go, and you could either go downstairs, which was a penny, and have a penny to spend on sweets, or blow the whole tuppence on going upstairs. So it all depended how you felt.
Every child in Fitzwilliam went to pictures. They'd always tell when they came out what film had been on. If it were Cowboy, all boys used to come out smacking the backsides. And if it was Zorro, everybody was swishing the sword. You always knew. It used to be brilliant Saturday mornings. Very dark inside, but it were always tidy. And always a lot of noise unless films were scary, you know, really good.
It originated by the local lads talking on a Sunday morning about raising some money for charity. There were 2 or 3 people in Castleford at that time who had got a disease called poliomyelitis, which left them crippled, bedfast and in wheelchairs. So what they did then, we organised the pram race and a fancy dress. and we went by pubs and clubs en route. By the time we got back to Castleford, there was a traffic jam and various things, and after the first pram race, the police informed us, whenever we do this again, we must inform them. So the second pram race, we had to get the police permission and inform them of all the dates and what was happening and that. The pram race was more or less a comedy pram race. It was nothing spectacular. Any pushchair, anything with four wheels, it was just a matter of pushing it. It didn't matter if the hood was broken or torn. A father, which he'd gone out for a Sunday stroll, allowed his wife to take the baby home while he used the pram. But he joined in the pram race, and his wife was left holding the baby. And the second year we included having the prizes presented by the Mayor of Castleford. I'm in my 20s, just turned 21, and I broke my neck playing rugby. And after probably 3 months of looking up at the ceiling, they put me in plaster, and that allowed me to get up. But unfortunately I couldn't stand up because my legs were too weak to push me about in a wheelchair. From then on, it was just a matter of time being in plaster jacket and a leather jacket, which was approximately 4.5 years. And I'm glad I took up filming, because it's one of the most pleasurable hobbies I've had. I'm the luckiest bloke alive. I can bend down, touch my toes, do exercises. Granted, I can't see, but I've got as much pleasure making little films, and hope it brings pleasure to other people.
My husband was a very keen photographer. He had a good camera and he knew about photography, you know, time-lapse and which lens to use and everything. He decided that he'd rather do filming. So he bought a Cinecamera, traded his still camera in for a Cine camera, and went forward there. So when the children were growing up, it was Cine that captured their stages of growth and little antiques. I mean, we would invite people perhaps to come and have a look, you know, but he was hardly ever on any of the films. It was him doing the filming, and it was me and the children. My husband was just a bank clerk then. He got friendly with all, you know, the people that were there, and decided that we'd have a party at our house. It was at our house. I was a bit sort of horrified that he thought that he'd invited all these people to our house, because they couldn't, you know, I was only about 22 or 23, and I didn't really know how to cope with all these people coming and feeding them and getting them drinking and, you know, records and stuff. It was quite a difficult task for me to cope with, really, being the hostess for something like that. One young man laid on the settee and we all teased him, but he had actually passed out. And that frightened me a bit, because I hope he doesn't die.
don't think we ever went to sleep. We used to stay up all night talking and playing the guitars and singing folk songs. Oh my goodness, it's on from Brenda. I had a coffee bar in Harrogate. It wasn't the normal run-of-the-mill coffee bar. It was very much like a little club, and it was above a pet shop. And all the people in the film were all my customers, but we were all friends. Mind you, if they knew what I did at times, they probably wouldn't be friends, because I used to salt the bacon a little bit, so that when I did a bacon butty, they'd have to buy a Coca-Cola. Anyway, that's one of the secrets of the trade. But yeah, they were all, you know, that's where we used to plan our films sometimes. You know, we used to say, right, can we do this? Can we do that? You know, great fun, really was. We always used to go camping every nice weekend down at a place called Scotton Banks at Knaresborough. And we found this little place. The river was just there. There was plenty of room for different tents and that. We all had our own tents. We all had our own cooking utensils. And, I mean, we used to carry all this stuff down on the bus at night. You know, we used to go down about 9:30 after I'd closed the coffee bar. And we just used to just be silly, you know, build a big fire. You know, nobody ever came round and said, you can't do this, you know, we just did it. And we just used to do silly things. We used to think of them on the spur of the moment, you know, and just do them. Probably things that had been done on television that we'd seen comedians do. We thought we'd do it and see if we got the same effect, you know. And anything that we could think of which was just different to the normal happy family films, we tried it, like jumping off the wall or jumping onto the wall, which all you did was you actually filmed somebody jumping off the wall, and then when you got the film back, you just cut that little bit out, turned it round the opposite way and spliced it in, and then when you showed it, of course, it looked as though they were jumping on the wall. Every Sunday we used to be out, you know, playing, I should say, playing. Yeah, great fun. I've always had this interest in special effects. We did one using a piece from Dracula, Prince of Darkness, and the lad who was playing Van Helsing, he put this stake over and went like this with a hammer and brought it down as hard as he could on top of the stake. But she had to stay exactly as she was, and so did the lad, because we had to take the stake away, and then we had another half stake on a piece of hardboard, which we fitted between her jumper like that. And his hand was put back on it and blood was splurted all around. I mean, we used so much blood. Oh! Oh, that's me dog, Ricky. Oh. Oh, my goodness. The Christmas party film was done in a flat that two of the lads in the film and myself shared. It was a brand new flat. It was beautiful. It had just been completed. There was lots of kissing, there was lots of drinking, and again, it was just great fun. You know, it's things that you did when you were in the 60s. I mean, it was all so innocent then. There is one bit where I come upstairs and I have a Gannick's Mac on and a pipe, and I come upstairs and do an impression of Harold Wilson as though he would come to our parties, you know. But I don't know why I did it, because I don't look a bit like Harold Wilson. But anyway, it was done and everybody thought it was funny. So everybody did a little bit of a party piece, you know. So that was mine. Really, 1960 through to 80, I'd been making my own films and that, you know. To me, film is so important in my life, and I think a lot of people's lives. The last time I would have seen them, I'm pretty certain, would be 20 years ago. And when I watch them now, it's sent goose pimples up my arms just to see them again. It's just amazing. I don't like living on my memories, but that, to me, is nostalgia, what we've watched today, and it's been super. Thank you.
Well, I started in photography when I was 11 years old, and I was given a Brownie box camera for passing the 11 plus to go to grammar school. Eventually, in the 1970s, I decided I would like to do movies. As well as being a photographer and now video maker, I'm also into local history and railway history. I'm a railway historian. Certainly with film, we can keep a really good record of things as they happen, and of course in the future this will be of great importance to anyone living locally, particularly people like myself who have this interest. And for the local historian, couldn't have a better record. Our eldest son David, born in 1964, he took an interest in photography, and I taught him everything I could, but it was evident very soon that he had a real eye for a photograph. When I got my second movie camera, it had a stop frame facility on it. David soon latched onto this. He decided he wanted to make an animated film, and that's what he did. He made it using models that he'd built. He'd got a plasticine snake he'd also made, curling around this tank, and it worked fairly well, did that, for a first attempt. He went on to use other cameras, and eventually at the age of 20 he was taken on by the BBC. He was involved with the programme Pebble Mill at 1 with Alan Titchmarsh. So he was with the BBC for about 20 years, I think it was. He was highly regarded as a cameraman. His producers asked for him specifically on jobs, and unfortunately when he was 41 he was told he'd got brain tumours and they were inoperable, and we lost him 2 years later, and we couldn't believe it when we had the funeral service at Wakefield Crematorium. It was absolutely packed. With film and now video, the people come alive. You can see them moving, see their expressions, see their actions, and it really does make it more lifelike than the still camera can. I think the memories are far better. That brings them more to life. I think that's the main thing, bringing things to life.
Blood from broken hands and feet, blood that's dried on.
Many villages around the city of Wakefield were once coal mining communities. As we look over the fields, we see one such village.
I'm very lucky because I have a friend called Elsie who takes me very often in the car, and we spend most of the summer on Wednesdays filming, and then in the winter I put it together. First of all, I write a commentary, first of all, and then I put it on the computer and alter it and diddle around with it, you know, until I get it right. Well, I do everything, really. I mean, I didn't used to when my husband was alive, but I'm on my own now, so the little pictures come into here, and you bring them down onto your timeline like that. People sometimes say they don't know what to film, but it's all out there, you know, for the taking, really, isn't it? I do get ideas. I mean, they're all around you, aren't they, really? And when you get a camera in front of you, you see things differently. There are so many films that you can make that you know it's difficult to fit them all in, and I enjoy editing. I just enjoy creating it. You know, I've always been creative. Right from being young, I've always had to have something to create. The Mystery of the 99 Archers, that was a Well, it was a challenge really, because what can you do with 99 archers, you know, but it came out quite well actually.
This engraving by the artist Robert Bonus probably shows the most comprehensive view of the Wakefield viaducts. However, the fact that he showed only 91 arches, 1 girder bridge and no road bridges suggests he may have been more interested in its artistic value than in its accuracy. But has anyone ever identified the 99 arches?
My husband and I were in amateur dramatics, and when we retired we didn't want to go out in the evenings, so we came to this idea that we'd do filming instead, because we could go out during the day and film and do our putting it together in the evenings. Then of course, as things developed and we joined the Cine Club, I found that my husband, who used a tripod all the time, was very meticulous and very slow and he missed things that were going on around, so I wanted a cine camera as well, because I could catch these things, and because it's these things that make your film interesting. I mean, if you just take scenery all the time or buildings all the time and put dates and things, it's not really very interesting, is it? You've got to have the human element, and that's where I came in. We made a film nearly every year on holidays. We made some nice films, really. And the most interesting one was when we were changing from cine to video. So we went to China, and we were there at the time when they were opening it up to the West. We started editing straight away with tape, and they used to stick it with little tape things, didn't they? I liked editing like that, actually. I enjoyed it because I could sit and watch the television while I was doing that.
A spring break. That's what's needed.
Yes, please. Sounds like paradise. Lots of lovely spaghetti. Off at last. Where to, I wonder? A campsite? A caravan?
I went onto the computer because my husband died before we came to that stage. He'd have loved it, I think, because he was very good. I used to say, can you do so-and-so? And I'd give him some impossible situation, and he'd sit down and do it. He'd say, go out into the kitchen, Joe, and he'd sort it out. And he said, right, I've done it. At first I thought, well, that's it, I shan't be able to do any more films. And then the gentleman in the film said, oh, no, we'll show you how to do the technical bits, don't worry about that. And they chivvied me on, you see, and I've got two neighbours who are in the club as well, and they took me out to the club straight away, and I sat there very frozen for a week or two, but I'm glad they did it, yes. It's kept me going, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people at my age are walking around with bags full of tablets. I don't take any. So, and I'm 89. Don't put that on. No, it's definitely helped me, yes. I think you've got to get out amongst people. You've got to talk. You've got to think. You've just got to keep going, you know. And this is one way that keeps me going, certainly, and I shall carry on with it as long as ever I can.
It's something you think about from a child when you used to go watch movies. You think, oh, I'd like to have a go at one of them cameras, but when we were children, we couldn't afford a camera. And there were no video cameras anyway, there were wind-up cine cameras. I remember mine were a Kodak Super 8, my first one I got. As I say, I used to do all these films and splice them, but we couldn't put them on a DVD them days. We had to show them, and they only lasted about 2 minutes. But you had it captured on film, something you can't go back on. I show my grandchildren, I said, look, that's your dad when he was your age, and we're comparing them.
I had this camera up in the loft, so I decided, why not start doing some film, just to make sure that future generations in Outwood or North of Wakefield would have something to look back on. They were just starting preparations for the erection of a wheel to commemorate the people who worked at Lofthouse Colliery. I made an appointment to go down to one of the committee meetings, and that was my first time I met Tony Banks. Tony and myself got together and said, well, why don't we form a club? So this was 2001, and that's how Outwood Community Video was born. And fortunately, when the club was formed, we had a key few members that have stuck with us all the way through. I mean, we couldn't have done it without them. And to think that some kiddies that aren't born yet will be able to look at what we've done here over the past, 7 years. I mean, what else could you wish for? It's absolutely fantastic, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
That one is the first little digital camera that I ever got. But that one has got a bit dodgy now because it only comes on when it wants to. And then that one's the big sort of camcorder I got. I got my first camera, I think I got it for Christmas, I think about 4 years ago maybe, a little digital camera. And then I got my camcorder, I think 2 years ago for Christmas with a bag and memory stick and everything. So I started making proper films. I like editing and putting music in and make it look awesome. We once went to Loverton Hall and it was I just recorded all the birds, and we like the bit where you can like walk through Africa, and I recorded like walking through Africa and like found some African music from somewhere, put that on. This is a film about concentration camp I made with my friend Toby. I called it sort of Auschwitz, but it's just set in like a concentration camp sort of thing, and just kind of tries to show you like what the Nazis kind of made them do and stuff. And it's not the best. Probably a lot of it isn't actually that true, but when it's edited, it'll kind of make sense. I tend to use Windows Movie Maker for editing, and sometimes it does take hours and hours.
My brother is a filmmaker, and he's quite good at it. Well, some of what we filmed when we were on holiday, I've been in some of them, and I've been in this one what you made of World War II or what, or something what it was. And that's what I've been in, so we're helping him in them.
I think people used to make films with like a big film, like a massive camera with big film reels on, and just had to stick them all together and stuff. Stick all the film reels together. Now you can do anything. Like now, you could be standing in my room, but you could put in you're standing in a forest, whereas before you had to film what you could, and you could only probably add in bits of sound and stuff. Even cameras that take still photos have a video setting, so anyone could just flick it to video setting, record videos and stuff whereas 1980 or whatever, stuff that I suppose you could your dad or someone could but that save up for a camera, but that'd be a year's wages or something down pit. You probably wouldn't technically really be able to make that good a film, whereas now everyone can nearly afford a camera. When I grow up, I want to sort of be maybe a film director or work somehow in media, for BBC or something. Because I help make the sets for the plays at school in Set Club. Also, I could be, I wanted to run my own media company. So become a multi-billionaire and Business Giant and stuff like that.